money for no reason. Call it that.
You guys are lucky. Canada, previous. Enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. Kwekakina. Welcome to Algonquin Territory. Norm Mojic Dinishitakas. My name is Norm Mojic, Director General of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation Tribal Council. We're all here today to express serious concerns about the 10-year relicensing of the Chalk River Laboratories license. Today we'll be telling you about these concerns, which we'll be bringing to CNSC's public hearings in Pembroke next week. Our conclusion is that any new license for the Chalk River Laboratories should be for a maximum of 3 years, not 10. We also have serious concerns about other projects, including the near-surface disposal dump and the decommissioning of the nuclear power demonstration site. I did a tour of the site last week, and with the proposal that we've got serious concerns about how that could affect the Ottawa River, the water table, the fauna, the birds, the fish. So it's a major concern to everyone, and it could end up really affecting the wildlife and the water in that area. I'll now pass the mic to Grand Council Chief of the Anishinaabe Nation, Patrick Madabi.
Bonjour, I'm Patrick Madabi. I'm the Grand Council Chief for 40 First Nations, approximately 65,000 people. And we're here to support the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Tribal Council, the Ottawa Riverkeepers, concerned citizens of Renfrew County and area, and Stop the Outaouais area. You know, the Canadian Nuclear Laboratories, trying to build this giant mound of radioactive waste at Chalk River, just a short distance from the Ottawa River, is insanity. Think about that, 7 stories high, the equivalent of 70 hockey rinks. This is so dangerous. We don't want these things near and located within our territories, and the transportation of this is so dangerous. There's a meaningful consultation has not occurred, and the United Declarations Article 29.2 states that there should be no storage or disposal of hazardous materials shall take place in the lands or territories of Indigenous peoples without their free, prior, informed consent. And there has been no interaction with us. We have an innate right to protect the land and the water. And the Iroquois Caucus and the Anishinaabe have put a declaration out jointly condemning radioactive waste storage and transportation, particularly near water bodies. And given the location of this proposed facility at Chalk River and close to the Ottawa River, this must not be built. And also the transportation through our territories. Just a few days ago, January 7th, there was a collision on the Montreal River north of Sault Ste. Marie, involved a cargo of low-grade uranium concentrate. We really dodged the bullet there. Although they sent us fill-up crews, we never really will be told how much leaked out of that, when those things collided on that hill. So we can't accept these risks associated with the storage and transportation of radioactive waste. So we also do not support the licensing for another 10 years, and this project must not go ahead. And we really call on the federal government to make sure that we don't leave this legacy of leaving this radioactive waste and for future generations. Miigwech.
Thank you, Grand Chief. My name is Patrick Nadeau. I'm the Executive Director of Ottawa Riverkeeper. We're here today, first and foremost, out of concern for the Ottawa River. As you know, 2 million citizens draw their drinking water in the Ottawa River downstream from the Chalk River site. The Ottawa River is also a designated heritage river, both in Quebec and in Ontario. Alors, je m'appelle Patrick Nadeau, je suis directeur général de Garde-rivière des Outaouais, anciennement Sentinelle de la rivière des Outaouais. C'est le même organisme, on a changé de nom. On est ici pour vous parler de nos préoccupations par rapport à la nouvelle licence de Chalk River, principalement en ce qui a trait à la rivière des Outaouais. Donc, comme vous le savez, il y a 2 millions de personnes qui vivent en aval du site, qui puisent leur eau potable, ainsi que le fait que la rivière soit désignée rivière patrimoniale. On a 2 préoccupations principales, si on veut résumer nos préoccupations par rapport à la licence. La première, c'est que tout porte à croire qu'on assiste à un assouplissement du cadre réglementaire de ce site-là. Donc, assouplissement, moins de conditions qui sont attachées à la nouvelle licence par rapport à la licence précédente, des conditions plus floues, moins de détails, plus difficiles. Donc, on en arrive à cette conclusion-là lorsqu'on compare la licence actuelle et la nouvelle licence de 10 ans qui est proposée. Et nous, ce qu'on dit, c'est qu'un assouplissement réglementaire, c'est absolument pas le moment pour ce site-là. Au contraire, on devrait assister à un resserrement des normes, compte tenu de tout ce qui se passe en ce moment. Comme les autres intervenants vont le mentionner, on s'oppose à une durée de 10 ans pour la licence. This is the longest duration of license that would be given out for this site. The previous longest that was requested was 5 years. 10 ans, c'est très long en termes de consultation publique. Donc, il faut savoir que la consultation du public principale qui a lieu, c'est au moment de ce renouvellement de licence-là. Donc, ce qu'on nous dit, c'est que la prochaine consultation significative qui va avoir lieu, c'est dans une décennie. C'est beaucoup trop long. Il faut qu'il y ait une consultation significative régulière par rapport à ce site. Il faut aussi considérer le contexte. Il faut savoir que les laboratoires nucléaires canadiens, qui sont le consortium privé qui opère le site, consortium privé dont la seule compagnie canadienne, c'est SNC-Lavalin, ne sont en opération que depuis 3 ans, dans un contexte où on sait qu'il y a déjà des déchets nucléaires qui sont problématiques sur le site, où on n'a pas de plan approuvé pour la gestion des déchets nucléaires sur le long terme. Il y a le fameux projet de dépotoir de déchets nucléaires dont on ne connaît pas encore l'issue. Donc, avec toute cette incertitude-là, 10 ans, c'est beaucoup trop long et je me rallie à mes collègues ici présents pour demander un renouvellement maximal de 3 ans pour cette licence. Merci beaucoup.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Jones with the Concerned Citizens of Renfrew County and area. We have members on both sides of the Ottawa River, but mostly in Renfrew County. And we are very concerned about the new proposed license for Chalk River. The same concern as Patrick just mentioned about 10 years. The longest previous license was 5 years. So it seems totally inappropriate, considering that the consortium that's running the Chalk River Labs has a contract that will expire in 3 years from now. The license that's being proposed is also greatly watered down from previous licenses. Half of the license conditions have been removed, and what's left appears to make it easier for the consortium to carry out its plans with very little oversight from the regulator. We learned recently through a document that we got through ATIP that the consortium wants to bring all of the federal nuclear wastes, including high-level fuel waste, to Chalk River, even though proper facilities do not yet exist to receive them. Radioactive waste liabilities at Chalk River already exceed $7 billion, and progress toward dealing with these seems to be going in reverse since the consortium took over in 2015. The 5 of us speaking to you this morning are not alone in our concerns. More than 50 groups and individuals with concerns about the license are intervening in the public hearing next week. So many people applied to intervene that the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission had to add an extra day to the hearing. It will now take place from Tuesday at 1 to Thursday, an all-day Thursday. So there are far too many serious concerns for me to mention them all, but I'll just highlight 2 for you. One of the interventions is from 3 former senior staff from Atomic Energy of Canada Limited. They highlight instability in the consortium management, lack of knowledge of key regulations and international obligations, and lack of open and transparent public engagement. And their concluding statement in their intervention is that they respectfully submit that a decision by the Commission to grant a 10-year license would be an unsafe and unsound decision. The Canadian Environmental Law Association, in its intervention, states that the level of generality and vagueness being introduced into the text of this legal instrument and the accompanying license condition handbook is an open invitation for non-compliance. So there are links to more information and all of the interventions for the upcoming hearing in a press kit that we put on our website. So the website is www.concernedcitizens.net. Many other groups and individuals on both sides of the river, all the way to Montreal, have expressed concerns about what is going on at Chalk River. In the press kit, there's a document that highlights concerns about the new proposed license from the Green Space Alliance of Canada's capital, Ecology Ottawa, Old Fort William Cottagers Association, Pontiac Environmental Protection, and the Ottawa Raging Grannies, who are going to be joining us on the Red Canoe March after we conclude here today. So I would now like to introduce Réal Lalonde, our colleague from Gatineau.
Thank you. Good morning. Je m'appelle Réal Lalonde. Je suis le coordonnateur du groupe citoyen Stop Oléoduc Outaouais. Et je suis aussi coordonnateur du ralliement contre la pollution radioactive. Une préoccupation majeure de Stop Oléoduc Outaouais est la protection de nos rivières et de nos sources d'eau. À cette fin, nous œuvrons à informer nos citoyens, citoyennes, les élus municipaux de la région des risques liés aux activités des laboratoires nucléaires canadiens à Chalk River. En particulier, les risques de contamination radioactive que provoquerait le projet de dépotoir des déchets nucléaires proposé par les laboratoires nucléaires canadiens. Les risques que pourrait faire courir à la population de la région la réalisation de ce projet ne sont pas acceptables et les laboratoires nucléaires canadiens doivent revoir complètement leur projet de dépotoir. Notez que c'est aussi la position officielle de la ville de Gatineau et de plusieurs autres municipalités de la région. Stop Oléoduc Outaouais est associé aux peuples autochtones de la région et aux organismes présents aujourd'hui pour exprimer notre opposition à ce projet. Nous n'avons tout simplement pas confiance aux capacités des entreprises privées qui constituent les laboratoires nucléaires canadiens à gérer le projet de dépotoir à Chalk River. Par conséquent, nous dénonçons la proposition d'étendre sur une période de 10 ans le contrat des laboratoires tel que soumis à la Commission canadienne de sûreté nucléaire. La preuve n'a pas été faite que ce consortium de sociétés internationales qui gère depuis quelques années seulement les laboratoires de Chalk River possède les motivations et les compétences requises pour la lourde tâche en question. Le gouvernement canadien doit resserrer ses contrôles pour protéger l'environnement et la santé de la population de la région et non pas les abandonner en accordant d'une façon irresponsable un contrat d'une si longue durée. Vous trouverez un message du ralliement contre la pollution radioactive qui a été préparé par les porte-paroles de cet organisme. Je les mettrai à votre disposition tout à l'heure. Laissez-moi simplement citer quelques lignes. Le ralliement contre la pollution radioactive demande que l'on s'en tienne au permis actuel de laboratoire nucléaire canadien à Chalk River, quitte à le prolonger de quelques années. Nous demandons que la Commission de sûreté nucléaire mette à profit ces quelques années pour rédiger un nouveau document dont toutes les exigences, les objectifs et les normes seraient publics pour faire une vraie consultation des citoyens tel que ça a été demandé par d'autres partenaires ce matin. Nous considérons que c'est une honte que le Canada ne gère pas ses déchets nucléaires correctement. Il n'y a aucun site d'enfouissement en couche géologique profonde pour les déchets nucléaires de faible, moyenne et forte activité. Nous voulons une solution permanente pour la disposition des déchets et un permis qui protégera manifestement notre santé et notre environnement. Merci.
Moi, j'ai une question. Ce serait quoi l'impact d'un contrat de 10 ans sur le projet de dépotoir? Est-ce que c'est une façon pour le laboratoire nucléaire canadien d'avoir en quelque sorte le coup des franges, selon vous?
Donc, L'impact, justement, c'est difficile à déterminer parce qu'au départ, on devait, il devait être question du renouvellement de la licence alors qu'on avait une meilleure idée de ce qui se passait avec le fameux dépotoir. Mais maintenant, les deux processus sont décalés de sorte que les audiences pour le dépotoir comme tel vont pas avoir lieu avant l'été. Donc, on se retrouve justement devant une incertitude à savoir, on n'a pas de plan approuvé de gestion de déchets nucléaires au moment où on se parle à Chalk River. Donc, ce plan-là est loin d'être approuvé. L'ébauche est en train d'être reconsidérée. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'on dit, en l'absence de cette information, puisqu'on est dans le doute, c'est un non-sens que de donner un feu vert pour les opérations pendant 10 ans.
Et qu'est-ce que vous faites du fait qu'on sait qu'il y a déjà des éléments radioactifs dans le sol, en bordure de la rivière des Outaouais, sur le site de Chalk River? Donc,
tout à fait, c'est problématique. L'existence de contamination radioactive existante est un problème énorme qui est là depuis des décennies. Vous avez entendu ma collègue le dire, on parle d'un passif là, de plusieurs milliards de dollars qui va devoir...
De les entreposer de façon sécuritaire au lieu de les laisser comme ça dans la nature.
Tout à fait. Puis ce qu'on demande, c'est clairement ce qu'on demande. Le statu quo n'est pas acceptable. Donc, la contamination qui est là déjà n'est pas acceptable. Nous, ce qu'on dit, c'est que ça prend un plan censé approuvé pour la gestion de ces déchets-là. On est en l'absence d'un plan comme ça. On est en l'absence d'un plan approuvé. Vous savez, récemment, les laboratoires nucléaires ont reculé sur leur proposition d'inclure des déchets d'activité intermédiaire dans le fameux dépotoir. Que va-t-on donc en faire? C'est quoi le plan pour entreposer ces déchets-là? Donc, en l'absence de cette information-là, ce qu'on dit, c'est que c'est pas le moment d'octroyer la plus longue licence qu'on a jamais octroyée pour ce site-là, une licence d'une décennie.
I'm wondering if I could ask a question to the grantee. I'm wondering what kind of attempts have been made by Canadian Nuclear Laboratories, the consortium, to communicate with your community and to talk about its plans?
There's been none.
So there have been no talks at all between your community and the consortium?
No.
Okay. So where do you get your information then about all this?
We've been working with the science community. We've been working with a number of support groups, keeping on top of what's going on. One of the things that's really exciting about, I guess, the coalition of people that we have with the Iroquois Caucus and the Anishinaabe is that our young people are leading, this initiative in terms of our opposition, and they're very savvy on the social network and looking and Googling information, and we're really relying on them, and their advice to us. So they're an integral part of our discussions because, after all, it's going to be the young people that are going to inherit this legacy.
Council Chief Madabi, you mentioned there was no duty to consult. Can you use the HIDA decision to use the courts for some sort of intervention?
Well, I think that's one of the things that we've been doing as the Iroquois Caucus and the Anishinaabe, is we've been having strategy meetings. And again, we have members of the science community that are working with us, and groups, such as our friends behind us here, that are, talking about different strategies. There's different things that need to be done, and obviously, legal action is one thing we're talking about. So there's a number of strategies being contemplated, and again, for me personally, having been around politics for many years, I really particularly like the fact that our youth are engaged fully in this project, and to me, that's an exciting thing because they're really monitoring what's going on here, and a lot of the young people that are there are even like young single mothers and that are concerned about their babies, and young people that are they're not prepared to live in a world where they're in constant fear of what could happen to their environment. Water is so precious. I mentioned the near disaster near a major water body. We've had many other instances where we're concerned about the transportation of this waste or storing it near water bodies in general. Is just totally insanity.
What do you make of the fact that we know that there's already radioactive elements in the soil near the river on that location in Chalk River, on the nuclear site, because of what happened during the 50s and 60s. So,
yes, there's
it needs to be disposed of one way or another. So
yeah, there's lots of situations, and I think one of the things that we've been saying to governments is that first of all, you need to stop producing this stuff. There's alternative energy sources. There's alternative ways for the medical isotopes that are being used at one point. So the continuing of creating this waste is should be really looked at seriously, because there's all kinds of alternative forms of energy production.
How? Because you mentioned transportation of these type of nuclear waste is dangerous. You don't like the idea of having a disposal facility by the Ottawa River, but then what should they do with that?
Well, they need to contain
waste?
it safely for now, until they find the science to be able to catch up to how to safely store this stuff. I talk to people that work underground, for example. There's lots of seismic activity. I mean, they talk about storing this in deep underground depositories. That's totally crazy. Man has not been able to conquer Mother Nature yet, in terms of the power and force of Mother Nature. If you're driving along sometime along a highway, take a look at a rock face, and you'll see water coming right out of a rock face. That's the power of water. So there's lots of activity underground. There's lots of water forces underground. We have to be very careful. This is a very dangerous, slippery slope that is being proposed here.
Mr. Nadeau, Canadian Nuclear Laboratories says that a lot of this opposition is based on misinformation and miscommunication, and that their priorities are safety and the environment. And so what do you say to that?
Well, I can tell you that what we're responding today, we're responding to the best available information that's been made available to us, and it's clear to us when we compare the conditions that were existing in the previous license versus today's. It's not actually a simple comparison. It's not like we've been offered a chart to say, here's why we've removed, here's the rationale behind removing half the conditions, and here's why this is equivalent or better. So this is really, it's a pretty opaque process, to be honest, and we've had to dig really hard. And our conclusion is that actually we're softening the regulatory framework here. So, we understand that this is a complex file, but clearly we're talking about the risks here are to people's drinking waters, people's traditional territories. That's the reason why so many people are mobilizing to speak before the commission next week.
What's your understanding about when they're talking about bringing waste in from other parts of the country? What other parts of the country are they talking about?
So that information hasn't been included in the license that's being studied right now. So those are things we're hearing. There's also talk about small modular reactors that might be put in. At the end of the day, I think the conclusion here is that there's so much uncertainty around what's being proposed, including potentially the generation of new waste. And it's within that context that we're saying that a new 10-year license just doesn't make sense.
Any more questions? Thank you.